Did you ever find yourself struggling endlessly to build that perfect prompt? Well, rest assured you're not the only one. Millions of people around the world are fighting ChatGPT every single day to get it to tell them the right thing. Well, the good news is I'm here to help you elevate your prompting skills all the way to the very top so you can finally become that master prompt engineer that you've always dreamed to be. What are we going to do today? Well, we're going to be talking about 0, 1 and few-shot prompting. And those are the basic 3 techniques that any prompt master will have in their arsenal. So let's talk about it. Let's start off with what a shot is. A shot is just another term for an example. So if you're building a prompt with an example, you're going to give it a way of understanding the question or giving it some context. And we'll look at that in one-shot and few-shot prompting in a second. But for the 0-shot prompt, all you need to know is that you don't need to add any additional information, context, none of that. So basically, a 0-shot prompt is a very basic prompt with no additional examples, no additional information, just bare bones question, such as how to drive a manual car. And the response is probably what you'd expect, just a simple list of steps on how to drive a manual transmission car. And now you're probably asking a couple of questions. First of all, have I just been using 0-shot prompting this whole time? Well, most likely yes. If you've been using any of the large language models out there, you've probably been using 0-shot prompting. Second question, is there anything I'm missing? Is there any difference between 0-shot prompting and just a normal question? Well, not really. That's just a fancy term for a question with no further context. So, just to make sure we're on the same page, here's just one more simple example. Give me 5 ideas for a mystery novel. And what ChatGPT does now is it goes through its knowledge base of information about novels and mystery, combines them together, and comes up with a list of different ideas on what an ear-catching mystery novel would be. So, 0-shot prompting, just a standard prompt that you've always used. It's very useful for tasks which don't need any more information, which are based on general knowledge or very simple tasks. So, if that's what you're doing with ChatGPT, fair enough, keep using 0-shot prompting. So, let's continue on to 1-shot prompting. And 1-shot prompting, as the name suggests, needs one example. And what are those examples exactly? Well, imagine you're trying to teach your child how to wash a window. With 0-shot prompting, the task would be learn to wash a window and wash it. The child might not know how to wash a window because that task sounds complex and they've never done that before. However, if you approach the task in a 1-shot prompting way, what you would do is you would grab a sponge, a bucket, some water, detergent, ask the child to wash the window based on how you're doing it right now, show them how it's done, and then wait for the kid to do the same. And that is basically what 1-shot prompting is. You give an example of how a similar task is performed, and then you allow ChatGPT or any other large language model to do the same. So let's look at a very basic example of translating text. Help me translate from English to German as in the example. Hello, my name is Basil. Hallo, mein Name ist Basil. And then welcome to my YouTube channel. Hope you're enjoying it. And so what we see here is, first of all, the task translates from English to German, and then an example. Hello, my name is Basil, and then the German version of that. And then the task itself, where we want ChatGPT to translate that text to German. Now you might say that that's a very simple task. Surely ChatGPT doesn't need an example on how to translate from English to German. And yes, you're right. However, if you want to give the response some sort of style or some sort of format, then 1-shot prompting would probably do the job. So for instance, if you wanted to use a certain dialect in German, that would be a good solution to do it. Give it one example of normal English to that dialect of German, and then wait for all the other questions to be answered in that same way. Right, now let's look at another real-world scenario where I'll be treating ChatGPT as my email writing assistant. So I want ChatGPT to know the way I speak and how I write emails. So I will show it how I usually create my emails, and then I'll try and ask ChatGPT to mimic my style. So I will show you an example email I've written, and now I'll paste an email that I've written, or well, ChatGPT wrote it for me, but the point is that the email has a very specific style of putting a lot of emojis, jokes, it's kind of light-hearted. It was an email about me asking my boss for a raise. And based on that email, I will want ChatGPT to generate further emails to other people. So in this example, I'll ask it to write an email to my friend about my holidays in Greece using that same style. So again, I'm giving it an example of how I write. I give it a pasted piece of text that I've written, and then I ask it to write something else using that same style. And as you can see, reading the first few lines, you see that we're using emojis, which I did in my original email. And it starts with, hope this email finds you soaking up the sunshine just like I did on my epic Grecian getaway, which is kind of a funky and quirky way of messaging your friend. So it definitely got the vibe of the original email and is transforming my future content into that sort of style. So if you want to automate writing repetitive emails, maybe not to your friends, but something more official, ChatGPT might be a great solution, and one-shot prompting is definitely gonna elevate that to the next level. So we've seen ChatGPT mimicking the style of communication. Now we can change the way it formats our text. So I will enter an itinerary of my previous trip to Jamaica, which has a specific format, which we'll see in a second, and I'll ask it to create a new trip itinerary to Iceland. So let's have a look. Please give me an itinerary for a trip to Iceland using the format as in the example below. And the example below has the title, Trip to Jamaica, 1. Destination, 2. Travel, 3. Accommodation, 4. Attractions, 5. Dining, and 6. Nightlife. So I expect the new document about Iceland to follow the same format with all those different headings. Yes, as expected, we have destination Iceland, point 2 travel, point 3 accommodation, 4 attractions, 5 is dining, and 6 is nightlife. So that is an example of how we can format our output coming from ChatGPT. And this will work with creating documents, with creating emails that we've spoken about before. Even if you're coding and enter an example piece of code that you've written, it will also learn how you indent, how you place your brackets, all that kind of interesting stuff. If you're a bit more technical and you want to create a JSON, you can also teach ChatGPT what the format of your JSON is, and based on that format it will create new JSONs, which is very useful if you're a programmer again. So the possibilities are almost endless in this situation. Now let's move on to few-shot prompting. And few-shot prompting, as you might have guessed, is basically what we've done so far, except with more examples. Few-shot prompting, many example prompting. All right, so let's have a look at a slightly different example this time, where we're going to give it example inputs and example outputs for the data that we have. And in this case, we're going to look at food reviews. So we'll have restaurant reviews. We'll have one restaurant review, and then we'll see whether it's a 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, 5-star review. So here goes. Here are a few examples of reviews with their labels. Based on that, assign a label for the following examples. So, the food was good, but the service was terrible, 2 stars. Everything was magnificent, 5 stars. I had food poisoning and got in a fight at the restaurant, 0 stars, obviously. The food was alright, and the waitress was friendly, 4 stars. And then the example that I want ChatGPT to compute is, I enjoyed my time at the restaurant, but there was a lot of smoke coming from the kitchen. And it basically repeats everything that I just said, including the examples. And after a long block of text, it gives me 3 stars, which is what I was kind of looking for. 3 stars, maybe 4. 3 stars seems like the right one, considering there was smoke coming from the kitchen. So this is a bit lengthy. So what we can do is ask ChatGPT explicitly to just give us the answer. And so please write down only the label. And 3 stars is the response. So this is few-shot prompting, where our model has a few examples which it can learn on, and based on new input, it's going to give us output that hopefully we're expecting. In this case, it did a great job of 3 stars. So all in all, we looked at 3 different methods: 0 shots, 1 shot, and few-shot prompting. And what we've learned is that 0-shot prompting is what we do most of the time when using ChatGPT and all those other large language models. It's used mostly for general knowledge or simple tasks. And then we have 1 and few-shot prompting, where we give specific examples based on which the model learns. And so some of the areas where we would use few-shot prompting or 1-shot prompting would be natural language understanding, which we did today, question answering. So if you're building a chatbot, for instance, for a company, then we would be able to teach the model how to understand a question and how to respond to it, in what style and format, etc. Then summarization. So with summarization, we don't really need few-shot prompting or one-shot prompting. We will probably be able to do it with zero-shot prompting. However, if you want to extract only specific information from the text that you're summarizing, giving it an example where you only focus on that particular aspect of the information will teach the model that we don't really care about all the rest. It's only important to know about that one small thing. Translation, which we saw before, code generation, creative writing, and basically content creation based on our style and format. And last one would be basically experimenting. So if you have a couple of examples, you can see how those examples affect the precision of your model. And a couple of notes on how to make sure that your few-shot prompting is going to yield the best results. Well, one of the things you want to do if you're labeling stuff is to explain what possible labels we're expecting. So in our case, it was from 0 stars to 5 stars. In some cases, it could be negative or positive. In other cases, it could be, well, whatever you're trying to label. Then making sure that the examples we give are more or less diverse, because if we give 3 of almost the same examples, well, it's not going to teach our model how to react to different scenarios. So make sure you do that. And last but not least, make sure that the format that you're entering is consistent. So all the symbols that you're using, like the arrow I did with the translations between German and English, make sure that's consistent in your examples and you should be good to go. I hope this is useful to you, and I will see you in the next lesson when we discuss chain of thought prompting. So I'll see you then. Stay safe.